Surprise. I could flip all the time that I borrowed and make another life. You can break my stride. There's a palace in my mind, made of light, and it's your yeah, yeah. The stars are falling, skies are raining gold. Yeah, yeah. Forever I'm free, that's what could be. So I'm waiting. I don't need a rush, I'm patient. However long it takes, I'll be there one day. Hey. Eternal, I'm alive and chasing whatever it is I'm facing. I can't walk away. There's so much left to say. Hey. Our story never has to end. Eternal, I'm alive again. Eternal, I'm alive again. Our story never has to end.
What I'm saying might be reckless, but I meant it when I said it. And I know I might regret it, but it's time I give a lesson. Hope your feelings, they don't lessen. Knowing I'm not where you are, it's this feeling in my heart, and it aches when we're apart. I can't stand to see the stars, knowing I'm not where you are, while you're playing in the dark. I am tired, so getting closer. Count the minutes till I see you. Come on over, overwhelmed, can't wait. I know you're getting closer. Count the minutes till I see you. Won't you come to bed soon? Wait in my bedroom, counting the hours till you get to me. Watch by the white moon, stuck in my bedroom, counting the hours till you get to me.
Yeah, some people like me are just destined to fuck up everything that we mess with. If I was made as a joke, I don't get it. Missed the call, but I guess I got the message. Usually I fall too hard, I'm addicted to pain. And if the world's on fire, I'll be swimming in flames, yeah. Cause I'm too impatient to wait for change. I know I'm far from perfect. It's a story about a ID crisis. Used to think my only future was the night shift. Brain on ADHD, autopilot. And through it all somehow I kept smiling. I can never find the right words to say. Only a handful of family ever sees my face. But I'm only human, don't we all make mistakes? I'm drowning in my head again, and my thoughts don't want me to win. They show compassion made of plastic, and I don't wanna be another tragedy. But I'd rather be dead than a skeleton dreaming about the things that he couldn't be. Cause I'm too impatient to wait for dreams.
Love me, cause I don't think I love me anymore. Maybe I think too much, so I drink to rush all my demons out the door. Tell me that it's all inside my head. Call it OCD, tell me it's you, not me, cause it's driving me mad. I don't think I'm losing my mind, building all these walls over time. Every time I lose my way, I find you. I know that when fears start to hit me, know that you're the one to lift me. I find you, yeah, I'll find you. insecurities haunting my memories, cause I'm holding them inside. Let go, put my thoughts back into words. Feels like I let me down, ain't got no golden crown. I'm just trying to be right. I don't think I'm losing my mind. Building all these walls over time. Every time I lose my way, I find you. I know that when fears start to hit me, know that you're the one to lift me. I find you. Yeah, I'll find you. Yeah, I'll find you. Anytime I lose my mind, I used to hold it all inside. Anytime I lose my mind, yeah, I'll find you. Anytime I lose my mind, I used to hold it all inside. Anytime I lose my mind, every time I lose my way, I find you. I know that when fears start to hit me, know that you're the one to lift me. I find
Welcome back to Mini RPG of the Week. I am the hostess with the mostess. It's me, Nualaic, and joining me is my gorgeous assistant for this week. We've added Astral to the broadcast. Welcome! I hope you're here to have a good time.
Oh, you flatter me. We're just covering the broadcast in Rocket League cast as an analyst, aren't we? And I'm the newest one to be thrown into the fire alongside my brilliant friend Nualaic. And I'm really looking forward to this. Looking at the last few weeks' action, it's been super, super exciting.
Yeah, it's slightly humbler surroundings than the last time we did a broadcast together, but you know, I'm sure the vibes will still be as immaculate as they were at the Commonwealth Games, and that is a brag and not even a particularly humble one after all. But you know what? We've earned it, but we'll stop talking about that, and we'll talk a little bit instead about Mini RPG of the Week. First of all, as usual, we should probably describe the format, just in case there is anyone joining us for the first time. That is that we're going to be starting off on a brand new Mini RPG map in just a brief moment. Never seen before, except by the creator and our lovely admin Zeterite, who this week actually did assist in building some of the checkpoints, so we'll check out what those ones look like when we get into it. Players will have 15 minutes to discover what the map looks like, to discover the quickest way around it, with nothing really on the line, at which point we will head into Cup of the Day style knockout rounds, knocking out 8 players until we hit 64, knocking out 4 players until we hit 16, knocking out 2 until we hit 6, and then knocking out 1 player until we hit a single player remaining, and we have crowned a new winner for Mini RPG of the Week. It's straightforward enough, and it gives us plenty of time to explore this track and see exactly what the fastest lines are around it. I'm looking forward to seeing what we have in store this week, Astro.
Definitely. So what you're saying is, if there's a problem with the track, we can blame the admin because he's jumped in and patched it together last second, along with the experienced track builder. Perfect. I'm excited to see what carnage these players are going to run into along the way when it's been patched together. You know, stick it up with a bit of sellotape always does the trick when a corner's not quite working as it should. So I'm excited. That should make things really interesting. And I think, you know, given the little hints from what we've heard, there should be some difficult parts in the middle part of this track for these people to get stuck into.
Yeah, absolutely. You've mentioned those hints you get. We've referenced a couple of times on the broadcast before that we do get the questionnaire each week. We haven't seen the map, but you know, the mapper tells us a little bit of what to expect so that we don't sound completely uneducated by the time we get into the map. And it is the first time I have seen the mapper proactively apologize to the players in advance. He has asked us to remind the players that he does still love them, and he's very sorry for how they may feel about the middle sections of this track. So I think keep that in mind as we head into it.
Yeah, I think that's going to be interesting. If you can make it through that middle section, that's the worst bit, right? Because if you make a mistake towards the end of the middle section, it's like, oh, I'm not going to make it to the end. Like, making a mistake at the start is okay, because somebody's going to make a mistake. You can come back, but the end of the middle section is going to be ruining for whoever does that. So I hope that they make wise use of these 15 minutes to be fully familiarized with this track.
Yeah, absolutely. 15 minutes to get it done. We are going to kick those 15 minutes off now as the players are loading onto the map. The map is, of course, by Ars Velo. It is the first week of the month. One of our 2 resident mappers back again. He's made a little bit of a sequel to his map from back in week 12, which was Bear Cave. This one called Little Bear instead. I guess that means we have Medium Bear and Big Bear. Maybe Goldilocks to come as well in the future. Although no mention of cottages or porridge just yet.
You had to drop it in there, didn't you? I'm looking for some wall rides maybe because we saw so many on the previous one, and there just seems to be a lot of curves to this track so far. Just taking a look at the opening of it, it's very green, and as you said, you didn't expect too much background, but we got some trees in there. You know, we're looking after the environment at least.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing to note as well, Ars Velo was trying something a little bit different this time around. Did use just vanilla blocks, no custom blocks at all used in constructing this track. Just trying to put some limitations on what you can do, and it makes for some very interesting designs. I think a lot of the time in most things in life, the limitations are more interesting than actually, almost anything else. Brandon Sanderson, one of my favorite authors, wrote a lot about that, which I enjoy. And I think it's true in map design as well, right? The limitations that the mapper puts on themselves or that are placed on them by whatever they're mapping for can lead to some of the most creative results.
Yeah, I was just watching Marius just drop off the edge of the map there, not sure where it's going, and then so quickly realise, if it was me running that, I'd have been like, I've still not figured out which way to go, but immediately figured out the correct way. Maybe he's not done so far with the second part of this one. I think I've hyped him up, and the pressure of him being the car in focus has just completely ruined everything I was trying to say. The caster's curse has come out. We've only just started. But yeah, they're familiarising themselves at this point, aren't they? So.
Yeah, absolutely. He has figured out the way to go now. It is one last quarter pipes. As you said, a lot of quarter pipes, and there is our traditional risky finish. Something we see a lot more in mini RPG than most other styles because it fits so well in a mini RPG style of map where it's all about the risk already. It's all about the decision making. How hard are you going to go on each trick? How hard do you need to go? And seeing the risky fin at the end is exciting. We'll figure out as we go exactly how much time that risky fin does look to be saving and how often players need to go for it. It doesn't look to me like one of the biggest time save risky fins that we've ever seen, but I mean, we get down to the last couple of rounds and even half a second starts to count. We will be seeing every player go for it.
Yeah, and if you get sniped, that is so disappointing, isn't it? I noticed there's a little tree in the middle of that jump right near the start as well that Agile were on board with. Immediately just clipped it. It was sneaky, just off to the right-hand side. I don't think anybody noticed it, and then bang, straight into the back of the tree. So hopefully nobody hits that, because it shouldn't be a big obstacle, but you just never know when the pressure starts hitting and the rounds start counting down. The smallest little thing can get in the way, but so far I've not seen too many struggles. I think everyone's picking up this track pretty quickly as we go flying past that infamous tree there again.
Yeah, absolutely. They're picking up very quickly. Once again, one of the things that we do ask the mapper is, what do you think is going to be a good time on this map, in rounds, or just a good time in general? Ars Velo suggesting that maybe 53 seconds would be a pretty strong time. The players are already hitting that point, only 3 minutes into this. I think we're probably going to be seeing this time pushed down potentially into the realm of 51s, maybe even a 50 by the time we finish our 15-minute warm-up. Then, of course, as rounds go, we tend to see a little bit more improvement as the top players get to flex their muscles a little bit in the early rounds without much danger of going out.
Yeah, the second note is a 54.7, so 1.1 seconds down on first, so only one player is into that 53. So, you've given them credit, someone's made it, but I think we're going to need to give them a bit more time. We've still got people in the top 15 down to a minute, so there's quite a lot of work to be done in the next 11 minutes, I think, to figure it out. We seem to see a lot of people resetting at the start, and I'm hoping that they're going to familiarise themselves with later on in the track, because that looks to be where it starts to get more difficult as they drop down this half pipe, and that gets very tight. We've seen people nearly clipping the checkpoint board as well on the edge, coming down to pull that U-turn quite frequently.
Absolutely. We're struggling a little bit. Couple of frames there. We will point out that there is currently a fairly large storm in France where our producer is. So if everything goes offline, it's probably just Deployer's house burning down. So I wouldn't worry about it too much anyway. But, fingers crossed that won't happen. We have a few other French players in here. So, if everything does go terribly wrong, we'll probably see a few other players dropping out as well. But I'm sure it'll be fine.
Might give a chance for somebody else to win. We've had more French winners than any other so far, not my stats. Told you I've been doing a quick checkup. So it seems like there's so many French players popping in every single week. 7 French winners in 20 weeks so far. Can 21 change that? Maybe, because German only one behind as well. 6 German winners. So we get a 7th. Level things up as we're on board with, looks like a German player now as well, and Data Toast, who's Just trying to get through towards the middle section. There's a lot of jumps through here, isn't there? And I've noticed we saw that water jump that you briefly mentioned before we got on once, but we haven't seen it since because we're just seeing everyone hit this start over and over again.
Absolutely. It's a lot of jumps, airtime reduction going to be very important. And then this is the kind of water jump that I don't think we're going to be seeing too much of an impact of something like the action keys, seeing too much of kind of those water bounce mechanics coming into play, but definitely still a little bit of room, and we will see how that does affect players, and I'm sure we'll hear from them afterwards. Never quiet if they feel like a part is maybe pseudo-random, if they feel like they were not being skill checked and rather just luck checked. But so far, you know, I think players liking the map. It looks like there will be a lot of room for skill expression, and that's what we love to see in Mini RPG.
Yeah, I did see somebody on the start there. As we're on board, just turn left, just drive off the map.
Like,
like, nope, I'm done with this map.
They're just looking to reroute. It's fine, you know?
Looking for a shortcut, maybe. You still got 9 minutes left. You don't need to be driving off of the track. Just, yeah, there's still plenty of people going through. Lucas can't even get through the first 2 turns without falling off. He's done that twice now on the first corner and then the second as well. So hopefully make it a bit further this time. There's just because jumping over the top of them as well.
Astral, and I just have to highlight this now, is I was saying, hey, maybe 50 seconds a good time. A seed already down to a 49.7. The player who last week joined the elite group of now 4 players who have ever won Mini RPG of the Week twice. Himself on 2, Yannick's on 2, Hazard on 2, and then Marius, I believe you said, on 4 as well.
Right.
And looking pretty strong this week. Aseed is one of those players who, Marius, you know, I mentioned it to him actually over on his stream briefly, that, you know, you're the only player to have won Mini RPG of the Week more than twice, and he was surprised because he said, what, I haven't even played that competition that much. On the other hand, you have someone like Aseed who has been around, is now a 2-time winner, but consistently has been getting podium results, and I mean, look, could be on track to maybe put up another strong result this week.
Yeah, it looks like about 1.4 seconds clear of second as well. I think it's made a slight improvement. I think half a second since the start, as it was the same player, and then BMX is just slotted in, but a decent way behind. So still some way to go. I see the time to beat at the minute as you jam on the start as well. So many cars resetting. I'd like to see a little bit towards the end section if we can, and just see if there's any more mistakes coming in there. See if they're going to struggle through the water section. But overall, so far, it does seem to be going okay. I'm just waiting for someone to beat a seed, but maybe that is optimistic at this point.
Yeah, could well be. The player as well that I want to highlight while we're here. 2 players that I want to highlight. First of all, Plixie999. I believe his 2nd ever Mini RPG of the week. He showed up once, won an edition, and this is his 2nd time coming back since. So, a player to keep eyes on as well, I think. I'm not 100% convinced that is true, but it's the only week I ever remember seeing him. And so I'm going to stick with it because it's a very fun story, even if it isn't true. It's just fun. The other player I want to highlight is, of course, Mika, a player that most players will know as well. The Ice God himself. I've clicked onto his Liquipedia page just for a second there, and like every single result is just ice competition first place, ice competition first place. It's Icy Campaign, it's Evo Ice Cup, it's Icy Campaign Winter 2022. It's all of them. He's an incredibly strong player. This is the first time we see him in Mini RPG of the Week. There is a little bit of ice on the track. There's about half a second of bobsleigh. I don't know if that's going to be enough for him to make his mark completely, but he is just a very strong driver in general, so excited to see what he can get done this week.
First, when you mentioned ice, I thought you meant that he would be some kind of Iceman, you know, he holds composure until the end, like Kimi Räikkönen or something, but not to be the case, I guess, in this sense. This corner here that Mika's going through, nearly sliding off, seems to be causing a lot of people problems as they jump back and run wide. I've seemed to see that most people slipping off there and losing a lot of time, and this drop down seems super awkward as well. There's so many turns to kind of get your bearings with, but they're all going for that long shot, and most of them making it so far. So it doesn't, I think as you pointed out earlier, it doesn't look too difficult. How much time they're going to gain from it, I'm not sure, but I don't expect too many of these guys to fail it because they're much better at the game than I am.
Under pressure, that is still definitely a failable, risky finish, though. You're absolutely right. It shouldn't be failed all that often, especially in the later rounds when the players have plenty of practice on it. But that just means that it's going to be all the more exciting when it does end up happening, and we do see a round decided by, and I, for one, am looking forward to it. Something you highlighted as well just there, Astral, absolutely, that some of these turns the players are struggling with a little bit, and it's definitely one of those tracks where it's all about keeping low airtime, but you do not get given space to set up. Your jump has to be what sets you up for the next turn as well, and so it's additionally punishing in that sense. A lot of the time in Mini RPG, and generally in Trackmania tracks, when there is a bit of airtime, you get a little bit of space to set up to readjust your line before you're forced into another turn. This is not one of those tracks, especially towards that middle section. It's going to be brutal if your jump goes a little bit wrong. And so one of the things that we do want to see players practicing now is, sure, you can get a fast time, but what are your recovery strats looking like? If you get it a little bit wrong, how are you going to look when things don't go exactly your way? And that's going to be incredibly important, especially in the kind of middle rounds of the competition.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's not even always about speed, is it? It's just about keeping your head and making sure that you don't do anything stupid. If you make the mistake at the start, you can recover it, like I was saying a little bit earlier on, but towards the end, not so much. And I've noticed right on the entrance to checkpoint 3, the quickest line seems to be cutting through where the pole is hanging out on the checkpoint. So I could easily see a couple of people driving straight into the checkpoint, missing that gap at the start, and then giving themselves a lot of work to do catching up. Hopefully not too many people hit that, but it could be an interesting one that seems like it should be easy, but once the pressure starts mounting on, in practice nobody's hit it yet, but you can see when they're down in the last few numbers and they're trying to sneak through, that's going to happen, as Chobber's had a right mate there, dropping back onto the start of the track again.
It's going to be a tough one, and I think you're absolutely right. We are going to see a few interesting crashes, and people are going to give themselves a lot of work to do from early on in this track in general. I think also just this jump in that tree, it's one of those jumps where I said you do kind of have to land and get your bearings very, very quickly, line your jump up correctly. I think we're going to see, especially in the early rounds, a little bit of a struggle from some players. 4 minutes left here in the warm-up, and we're seeing some familiar names up near the top of that leaderboard. A Seeds 49.7 still standing unchallenged. No one else managing to break into the 49s just yet, but he is the closest. Only 19 thousandths outside that 49 seconds. I think we're going to see a couple of people joining a Seed there sooner rather than later. Plixie has managed to climb back up there. Yannick's there, no surprise on that. Mika managing to reclaim a spot near the top of the leaderboard with a 50.6. And then some other familiar names. Walligan, Marius, BMX, all players that we see up there with a fair amount of regularity.
Yeah, 4 of your top 5 have all won a weekly before. Only third place, Funny, I believe that is, who hasn't got a win just yet. So Yannick's won 2, Plixie won 1, I think Heave also won 1 as well. So plenty of good players turning out this week. Like you're saying, there's a slightly lower turnout last week because they were all busy competing in another competition, but it looks like they're back, they're fired up, and they're trying to get another win and catch up with Marius's record.
Are you trying to suggest that a Seed's second win was soft in some way? That maybe the competition wasn't as stiff as normal?
Never.
I'm just checking, just confirming. I mean, I think I might say that a little bit, but I wouldn't say it loudly. And I mean, hey, any week is hard because consistency is king in Mini RPG of the Week. I mean, just getting through as many rounds as you have to with as many failable tricks. I mean, more so than any other style of competition that is run with a Cup of the Day style knockout. When you're into an RPG, when you're into a Mini RPG, it's tough. It's tough to maintain consistency. And again, I think this is one of those tracks that is going to be deceptively difficult on because there's no really flashy tricks here. There's no kind of like eye-catching plastic bounces where you do a huge backflip and fly across half the map, but there's a lot of jumps where you really need to have good control of your car going into it, and when you get one of those jumps slightly wrong, the effect is going to become very apparent as it snowballs into the next 2 or 3 jumps as well, as you lose speed, as you lose time, and as you fall further behind. So I'm looking forward to seeing the top players just pull away on this track, because I think once we hit the middle, it's going to be a desperate battle for some players to stay alive.
Yeah, I think that's what we were talking about in terms of the middle few checkpoints being the difficult ones. Like you say, lining those jumps up. One wrong jump just keys you up for a whole path of mistakes that you then got to reset from and like waste a lot of time. So I'm sure we're going to see some mistake jumps. I did actually keep practicing run wide, and Jan, they're on board with now, nearly did the same thing at that checkpoint. I was expecting people to hit the inside more than the outside, but never mind, he's falling off the map before going for a swim. Didn't want to make it to the water in this case, so still seem to be struggling after dropping down that half pipe and making that U-turn. Seems to be an issue for a lot of people to get around in a quick line.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. It's going to be a little bit tough for them. We'll see how they manage to handle it once we get into rounds. We are at a point now as well, Astral, where we do have to start making predictions about this first round, as has become a little bit of a tradition here on Mini RPG of the Week. When we have a lot of players and we have a map like this, we have to estimate, we have to guess, we have to put in our best prediction for how many players we think are going to be eliminated first round, because of course once the first player crosses the line, the DNF counter starts ticking, and this is a map where I think we're going to see some players not making it to the end. My prediction, I think we're going to see 16 players knocked out in round 1. That's my prediction for round 1.
We always have a couple of AFKs as well, don't they? They've been shouted by their mum to quickly run downstairs and sort out the washing, and by the time they get back up, the round is over. So.
It's definitely happened. I mean, I always say, you never DNF in a mini RPG on purpose, because, hey, look, anything can happen up until the last turn. We have seen disasters occur in the past where players have DNF'd and then their one rival crashes out. I think back to literally week 1 of the competition where that happened. And yet players continue to do it. You think they'd learn their lesson, but at some point they won't. I'm interested, actually, sorry, going slightly off topic for a second. Mimo Jr. going for a little bit of a wallbang while he has the booster up there. And while you have reactor boost up, touching the wall doesn't have the same kind of acceleration penalty as it normally does in this game, because you're getting a lot of speed boost from the reactor. And so I wonder, is that a legitimate strategy? Is that actually going to allow players to maybe gain a little bit of speed? Will we see top players going for that wallbang on purpose a few times? I guess we'll find out. This is the warm-up round, no eliminations this round, which means, Astral, to come back to you quickly, it looks like we have nearly the full 100 players on the server. How many players do you think are going to be eliminated when we get into round 1? I mean, this is a pretty good chance to maybe guess, as you see how players
seems like a lot, but we've got 100 in, so that's going to make things interesting. I'm gonna go higher just for the sake of it, just because bigger is always better, right? So I'm gonna go 18. Yeah. Just throw it in there. It's an absolutely huge number. We'll probably end up like 7 or something, and we'll sit here looking stupid.
Well, it will be at least 8 until we get down to 64, because the bottom 8 will be eliminated every round until then. So I mean, like, it's not that bad. I think the record is somewhere over 20 for a mini RPG round. Always round 1 is always the bloodbath. When we had about 100 players as well. And I would also like to say I have never gotten it exactly right, other than on maps where it looks pretty clear that everyone is going to make it across the finish line when we just predict, 8 or 4 and say that it'll be average, but that's boring. I have been one off 3 or 4 times though, which upsets me. It upsets me how close I've gotten. Maybe this is the week. 16 players, I'm guessing. You said 18?
Correct. Maybe I should have gone 17 just to deflect into that one off you, but I'll stick with 18. I'll stick with 18. I believe that you're not going to
watch it be absolutely 100% 17 this time around, Astral. We're going to split the difference between the two of us. I'm looking forward to seeing how things go here on Little Bear by Arsvelu. It is week 21 of Mini RPG of the week. Several multi-time winners are playing. A chance for one of them to extend their record. Maybe Marius could just keep the rest of them down. Maybe a seed can look to catch up a little bit. Yannick's as well. Maybe we get to add a whole new winner to it. Either way, we're on to round 1. 8 players will be eliminated. At least I'm betting 16. Astral betting 18. Let's see how round 1 goes.
We need to see a new winner for my first week, don't we? We don't want to see Marius getting his 5th win in only 21. We need to see something a bit differently. On Flixie, we got a player all the way dropped to the back already. I don't know if he was AFK at the start. I didn't see a reset. I'm not sure about you. And we've got a few stragglers already running down the bottom, so I think we're definitely looking at more than 8. I'm going to say that, because some of these guys probably won't finish in the current trajectory they're running at. Pun, I think 2 off the front right now, and there's a huge pile up at the checkpoint, just as suspected, all hitting the wall, and he's gained about 20 places through there.
Yeah, 20 places or so, and I mean, that's early rounds for you. I mean, it's very easy to make or lose those places. Just getting across the line is pretty much all you need to do to guarantee yourself a place in the following rounds. No one finished just yet, but a seed getting very, very close. And there he goes, across the line. It is a 1-minute lockout timer. I mean, look, that's 10 seconds longer than our current record, which a seed nearly managed to equal. It has been knocked down to a 41.147. A seed with a PB on round 1. 6/10 clear of Mika in 2nd place. But hey, I mean, a lot of players getting close to this finish. We might just see 8 eliminations only.
Yeah, I don't think there's not any jumps that you think, like, oh, they're definitely not going to make that. I think the map doesn't have too many difficult challenges to the point where it's not achievable at all. It's just achievable very slowly. I think so. Most of them should make it. But a seed's coming right out against you. You said he had an easy win, and now he's like, no, I'm setting the fastest lap. I'm winning this one. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yep, absolutely. It's been pretty clean there for a seed. I mean, he's shown that he's consistent on the rounds, has a lot of experience at this point in those top kind of 3-4 positions. Has a lot of 2nd places to his name as well. But I would like to apologize formally to the Mini RPG Trackmania community. I underestimated you. That's on me. But just remember, Astral underestimated you even worse. Only 8 players eliminated in round 1. And that means we keep going. 8 players until we hit 64. And from this point on, it just gets less and less likely that we see more than 8.
There was an 8 in there, right? I was somewhat right to a degree.
Just knocked 10 off, yeah.
I can't got one of the digits right. Give me a break. Come on. Somebody, by the way, has beat Seed's fastest lap. Enix, I think his name is, 49.1, so just sneaked in. Slightly more than 2/10 over the fastest lap. More people hitting that checkpoint again. It seems to be around the 70 mark. If you're right at the back, you hit that checkpoint and make it through cleanly, you jump immediately up into the 70s and get yourself into safety. There's a pile-up of blue cars. I think it's the French. Usually good, but struggling in that third checkpoint at the minute.
Just a little bit, but hey, still plenty of time. Experial languishing slightly down near the bottom at the moment, but that's fine. We need him to go out so that he can edit the Wikipedia page for us. Deeply appreciate the fact that he's been doing that for the last few weeks for it, and it's saved me an awful lot of time. So, hey, maybe I'd like to see him do well instead. That'd be nice.
Yeah, I think that he should achieve and stop doing your work for you. He's just powering it off to everybody else. Look at him. He's getting showing his Trackmania skills right now. That's what we want to see. A risky jump here coming. Oh, we're going to see the bounce off the wall, maybe. Oh, just squeezed in, but not going to keep them out of the bottom. I think so far everybody's doing a pretty clean job of picking this track up, and the ones at the bottom haven't managed to snipe away towards it, making it inside, because everybody's just making the jump.
Yeah, absolutely. Players already looking pretty consistent on that, but this is the style of track where that, to me, is a good thing because there is so much time to be gained by fully controlling your jumps on this. I think we're pointing towards a very exciting finale as we head towards our top 10. Still plenty of time left before we get towards that direction, but I think we're looking towards a grandstand finish today in Mini RPG of the Week, and that's always something to look forward to. We will see a couple of other names that we recognise going. Rob Zerver, of course, has been in and around the competition for a while now. Good friend of Mockfish's, or at least a friend of Mockfish's. I won't speak to the depth of their relationship because that's not for me to do. But we will see how this one continues to play out. We are being informed as well that some of the players up near the front are doing a little bit of a cut before the bobsleigh. So let's keep our eyes out and see exactly what that looks like when we get closer.
Nice to see Mockfish's friends performing just as well as the casting team have done in these weekly cups so far, not making it anywhere near towards the top. Although Ryan, we give a shout out to him, nearly made the top 10, didn't he, last week?
Mockfish has a top 10 to his name, I'll have you know.
Well, we don't need to talk about that.
That's true.
He gets too much fame as it is. You're giving him too much airtime. Let's not talk about his performance.
Oh, no.
On board with 76. Oh, there's a few people getting stuck in the water, and he's just been jumped by 2 more as well. That's not going to help his chances of trying to get through. And here's that awkward jump, and you see them all sliding off towards the right-hand side. They have managed to recover it, but they lose so much time through there. It does allow some people to catch up, but everyone towards the back end is still managing to stay on the track at the moment then.
Yeah, and I mean, we're seeing a few names drop out. I mean, that's the thing about these big tracks. We're seeing Cosdo drop out, a Portuguese player playing for, or managing W, I suppose, rather than playing for them. So maybe a little bit of leeway to be given there, but still a little bit of surprise to see the player drop out that early, given that he recently managed to win the Portuguese league. A surprising early knockout, but just goes to show you can't really afford mistakes at any point in Mini RPG of the Week. Things will start to go badly for you very, very quickly.
Yeah, and Alex as well, a name dropping out that I've seen performing much, much better in some of the previous weeks. So it's another shame to see another decent player drop out, but it just, sometimes it happens, doesn't it? It's one bad run, it's so brutal that you make one mistake and all of a sudden you're going out. And I think the fact that there's, maybe this track is difficult, but I think not as punishing for the mistakes perhaps as we've seen with some, but it makes it that a little bit more difficult to catch up in certain areas. As you see a few people, someone hitting the tree and a reset already right back to the start. Somebody else has gone flying off, and we lose a few pretty early on at probably the easiest part of the track, you would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, I think it's definitely a track where if you kind of lose focus, you can make mistakes. But it's not as punishing as some tracks, and so some players are just if you make the mistake, it's going to be harder to catch up, I guess is what I'm saying, because maybe less players are likely to make that mistake if they keep their focus up. Maybe I'm just talking out of my ass. I mean, it's honestly hard to tell. It seems to be a pretty common occurrence. What we should note is that Walligan is currently down in the elimination zones, and he is a player who is currently sitting with the 6th local record. And so seeing him go out this early would be a little bit of a shock. I expect him to have maybe climbed up a little bit. We see him go flying past Doodrift there in the middle of the track, and he has managed to climb out of. Both of them have managed to climb well out of those elimination zones. And they'll be feeling a little bit safer for the time being.
Nova, we've seen him pick up quite a lot of local records as well, was in the bottom, but I think he snuck out, probably made the jump, and a few people didn't. Techno way, he's going to slip out, possibly a 67th. Looks like he's made it through. A lot of people missed the jump, more than I first expected, and we've got an AFK. sat on the starting line in round 5. Absolutely unacceptable. All this man out.
Look, he hit the tree, and I mean, we all understand the Alt F4 when you hit a tree, right? Like, fully understandable reaction to it. I get it, even if, you know, it would be nice to see people driving the track, but I guess we'll sit here. 10 seconds. This is a checkpoint as checkpoint in the stream as we sit and catch our breath for a moment.
I did say that tree would ruin somebody's day, even if it didn't look like it was that much in the way. And there you go. Acclaim has been the man to take it. He's claimed the tree for his own. And Novu does end up dropping out as well, which is really interesting. 69th. Just slipped in to the top 70, but a long way to go. And losing some good players already is interesting, but seems to happen quite often in Trackmania, just through one mistake. And it's a real shame that sometimes you don't see those top players make it right to the very end.
Yeah, it's brutal. Speaking of top players not making it to the end, there is Heave, currently with the number 8 record, a player who has won an edition of Mini RPG of the Week, not moving on the start line. Once again, the early checkpoint claims another. Doesn't look like he's going to look to finish this one out. And will we see anyone surprising joining Zemuous, strong player as well, sitting near the back. Lookers Turbo, a very strong player. Tada down here as well. This round is starting to look like it might just be a little bit of a bloodbath. A lot of scalps being claimed by some of the players already if they can manage to survive this one.
Yeah, I think those in the high 50s will be feeling pretty comfortable right now because there's quite a big gap. Some of them at the back at least, so they're only going to be at risk of a couple of positions at most. A real shame. Heave could have been looking for his second win, but not going to happen this time around. Just gives up immediately off the start. So many cars dropping in. I've seen one player stuck on the edge of the rim, and I don't think they've made it. Barbers has gone the safe way, but still in the bottom 3 or 4. Tries to creep up through, and it doesn't look like they're going to make it. Still plenty of players continuing to drop out, despite so many people still making the jump.
Yeah, there goes Heave. There goes Lookers Turbo, dropping out in 66th and 67th respectively. As Heave will just give us a chance to look at his car. It's beautiful. The French design is very nice indeed. That's just the default French car, and hey, it's kind of pretty. Number is red, Heave, says Ryan, and he's absolutely right there. Meanwhile, up the top of the leaderboard, Yannick has set a new local record. I would imagine that little bit of a cut that we've been informed about in front of the bobsleigh, helping players shave time off, but either way, 48.2 is a spectacular time, and Ainix just behind, I believe, also set a PB on that round with a 48.4.
Yeah, Seed slipped all the way down to 4th as well. Only 5 people are creeping on it. We've got a couple more as well. 2 more up to the top 7, all in a 49 with Wallagen, who you noticed earlier on actually nearly dropped out. I think he's still in. I haven't noticed him drop out just yet, so maybe got a quick lap the time before the last one. But yeah, Seed slipping down the leaderboard, and Nika sneaking into the top 3 as well. Is a Binks out front, and Azion, not sure what happened there. A bit of a mistake has dropped him all the way back. And 3 players. Here's Orion. We're on board with him once again. He's going for that top 10 spot once more, but right now he's in the danger zone, or was. Made the checkpoint and snuck past about 10 players.
Absolutely, this is it. This checkpoint in particular, we saw a lot of people struggling with it during the warm-up, just misjudging that quarter pipe and bonking their nose into it on the way up. Almost exactly like that, but this time Hagen does manage to make it over and will be on the chase now, trying to climb back up into those top 55 places. But players in front racing on ahead. There goes Zemus with an awful lot more speed than anyone else racing ahead. This is that wallbang that we were kind of questioning. Would this be a legitimate part of the strategy? Yes, it absolutely is. This finish important. CDGG, I think, is easily going to overtake enough people to be clear. But who else will drop? Gold will be going out here. A player who was up near that top of the leaderboard for an awfully long time has dropped out in 56th place, I believe. We'll wait and confirm that that is the case as the final results come in. I've been lied to by a scoreboard before. This time around, I don't think it lied. I think that is Gold gone in 56th.
Brutal. Lost another great player there. I thought Gandhi was going to be destined for last, but managed to at least sneak a position up at the end, but doesn't have quite the same reputation in Trackmania of India, it seems, but climbed through. Obviously down to just 4 dropping out now. I'm interested to see if Orion can make it anywhere near the top like he did before. He's in 50th with the looks of it on the side scoreboard, so not far off the back. I see sneaking up with his fellow competitor at the top of the scoreboard, and Yannick's in second as well, as he's creeped up to 3rd though in the scoreboard now, so we'll see what happens there in terms of timing. I'd love though is to see if we can get someone for 47s, because we're only 1/10 away.
I mean, I feel like it's almost inevitable at this point, right? As they get better at that middle section of the track, as they get a little bit faster through that bobsleigh section, there is still time to be found on this track. 47, not impossible. I expect to see it within the next kind of, let's call it 47 rounds. By round 15, we'll have someone in the 47th. That's my prediction. I guess we'll see if it does actually play out. But down at the bottom, things are still a little bit rough. Let's not forget, this map is still hard. I mean, again, the top players make these things look deceptively easy. It's not that easy. I've just spotted the other reason that is a wall bounce, and it's because it's actually plastic on the wall there. Pun will snipe the finish. A seed is out. Excuse me?
What?
Excuse me? What? Huh?
It must have been a fake win last week. Must have bribed the admin. That's what it must have been. Drops out in round 8. That is disastrous. I was thinking Pun would be out, but the bounce off the wall just gave him a perfect line to come round and carry so much speed to make that final jump and sneak through. And it comes at the disaster of a seed who goes dropping out. I don't think anyone could have believed that. His 3rd quickest lap time. That's going to make it a lot easier for the rest of the guys in the top 5. They'll be rubbing their hands together right now, seeing a player like a seed go dropping out.
That's exciting, because I'm almost glad I didn't mention it, but I'm going to do it anyway. Is one of the strengths that Acid has had almost above and beyond any other players is, sure, he sets incredibly fast times, and that makes him very dangerous when he gets to the final rounds, but his consistency has just been much better than an awful lot of the other players that do play and consistently find themselves with strong times. You know, he has, I think, more second places than almost anyone else as well. If you're looking at podium places, I think he's probably uncontested in terms of the number of those that he has. To see him drop out outside the top 50, genuinely surprising. But with that said, Astro, we do have to move on with the competition, right? We can't spend the rest of the day talking about a seed.
Absolutely.
Let's just watch Nightlight on the struggle bus for a little while instead.
We had Walligen slipping right on the edge of it in 47th. You see Ryan there in 46th as well, but Walligen looks to have made a recovery in the last couple of checkpoints. Ryan on the edge. Cage might just make it, just got to make the jump. Might slip in. Surely somebody's missed it, and they have. Cage has snuck in. Ryan's not going to make it. Nightlight's out as well, and disaster once again for the casters. Made it top 50, we'll give him that, in a difficult run of 100 participants, but nowhere near top 10.
It's a full-on monkey paw week for Orion. I wish I could beat a seed. Just about gets inside the top 50 in doing so, as the seed drops out outside it as well. But hey, still a strong result. It's top half. We're in the top percentiles now in terms of 50%. We started with near 100 players this time around, so I'm going to give him a pretty good on that one. Top of the leaderboard, we haven't seen any improvements just yet. My prediction was that by round 15 we would see maybe someone down into those 47s. It's maybe getting a little bit tenser, as we have had half the field drop out. Maybe players focusing a little bit more on just maintaining consistency, because this is the point where it is dangerous, where you can definitely drop out with a bad round, but you don't really want to. It doesn't feel like you've achieved all that much if you do at this point, compared to getting into that top 10, compared to maybe getting onto the podium.
Yeah, the hands start swaying a little bit more, don't they? And I think the worry is, let's not hit the perfect lap. Let's just make sure that we finish in a decent position. We saw Yogg do a barrel roll earlier on, now puts himself dead last. But I think someone's just dropped off the end there, coming down for the half pipe with far too much speed. Noxus has dropped down just below a couple of positions, ended up bang on last. That must have been the player then that dropped off the end after the half pipe. And any bitty 44th clinging on in the red zone. But we're going to get into the top 40 shortly, and looks like Yogg from that earlier mistake isn't going to recover, and I think Noxus will be out as well.
Yeah, it's going to be an awful long way back for Yogg if he manages to make it at all. I'm not entirely convinced that will be happening. There's someone missing out. A little lift cart going to miss the finish. I'm not entirely sure if it would have mattered, but at this point it doesn't, as lift cart will drop out. Yogg as well. We'll go one more time over the slow-mo. A little bit slow into that finish, and we will lose them. Anybody dropping out as well. There were a number of weeks there around kind of week 10 either side of that, where Gravity kind of dominated the top 10 as a club. It's been a little while since that happened, and maybe won't happen again this week. There's still a lot of Gravity players left in this, the German org, looking strong, but anybody not going to be joining his teammates in the top 10 if any of them make it.
Yeah, I have so many German and French winners, it's almost just inevitable. But it'd be nice to see another region win. We've got eight of them weren't won by a German or French player, so that's still a decent margin, but obviously more than half won by them. And you see a huge pack here, but they're really close together this time around. Even the back couple of players were right up amongst the end. As I say, that Plixie's dropped all the way to the back, who is a player that's actually won one of the weeks and looks like he's going to be out, just hitting the DNF after the mistake, which is a huge L. And Walligen, they're slipping into the bottom 4 as well.
That's just funny. It's like, oh, well, if I'm not going to win comfortably, why bother? See you, peace, I'm out. Fair enough. I mean, like, honestly, as we've said, this is, I think, one of those tracks where, given that we saw only 8 players drop out, let's just watch this finish quickly, because I think there's a chance here for Doodrift to make it across that line. He's very high. The player below him misses.
Oh.
Doodrift sneaks into 38th place. Thunder will cross the line, but it's only in 41st. As, hey, it was a nice finish by Doodrift. I'm not sure who the player below him was that managed to hit the bottom. And we also say goodbye to Wallagen. Plixie and Wallagen both crash out just outside the top 40. And again, 2 strong players disappearing relatively early in the competition.
Yeah, despite Wallagen's fast lap, though, he's struggling back-to-back rounds, just creeping out of the bottom. So it's not particularly surprising now to see him out. Perhaps nailed it on one perfect lap, but really struggling with the consistency. Izzy Binks, though, up at the front again, who's been consistently up there. And Cage somehow clung on. I thought Cage was out, recovered it and managed to make it through twice in a row from being in the bottom 4. I swear Cage was out at the end of that, but somehow has snuck in to keep going again. But a long recovery as Klumpers pulls through the checkpoint and gains a few positions again. It seems like if you hit that 3rd checkpoint, bang on, you're automatically out of the bottom 4.
Getting admin to check this out. Was Cage eliminated and has hacked the servers, gotten their way back in? I'm not sure. I doubt it. I don't think anyone could do that. But look, we'll launch the investigation afterwards. In the meantime, though, it might not matter. We may not need to launch it, as Cage may just drop out on this round, a long way back at the moment, and not looking to gain any ground. Binks is so low, he might actually snipe someone at the end. 31st, he was well clear of it. This finish has got a couple of people this round. Murray going for the line as well. Will go through, but only in 36th, and that means knocked out. Edis and Cage will round it out in 38th and 39th this round.
Right, Cage is definitely out. Watch him sneak into the next round, I'm telling you. Izzy Binks, though, really struggling towards the end there. Was, I think, in first for the first couple of checkpoints. Must have had a huge mistake somewhere. Perhaps was one of the people that fell in the half pipe after checkpoint 3, which would make the most sense. I think that's where you lose the most time, falling off the map, and managed to make a recovery because of quite a few people failing that final jump, as you pointed out. But that could have been a disaster to see him dropping out as well, given the perfect starts we've seen him have. Although he's not in the local records of the top 15, I don't think, unless my eyes are deceiving me, which is really interesting because he's always up there with Azion right near the top end on the scoreboard.
Yep. Speaking of which, the scoreboard, Anix has gotten into those 47s and has done so with a 47.4, shaving a full 6-7 tenths off their time as they managed to go crashing into the lead on that. Now 7 tenths clear of anyone else on that leaderboard, but it's only that last round that counts, and also every round in the middle. You need to keep clean, you need to keep it consistent. Doesn't matter how good your best time is if you can't replicate it.
Azion now in the bottom. Izzy Binks, I noticed, dropped back into the top 5 as we'd expect. And now Azion 33rd, and I think he's been in the top 10 basically every round from what we've seen. Has now got a huge recovery after that water jump. I think Monster is right behind him as well. Techno Way's fallen off there, which might give Azion a bit of a chance. I think the scoreboard needs to update. It does. Azion's made it in as we expected. So still some people struggling on that curved passage going through the tunnel area, and it's causing a problem for a lot of them before the jump. Can Monster sneak in? Possibly. There's a couple missed there. I think they've done it 31st. Techno Way is out.
Techno Way went for such a high jump. He arced through the air. The parabola was gorgeous, and unfortunately it was just too high. He got sniped on the line as a result. What a finish that was. And Techno Way will feel a little hard done by watching that VOD.
Yeah, I think Techno Way sniped someone else earlier on there, so maybe it's just this. But it looked like he was jumping past the ring. Like, nobody's making that far, but Techno Way apparently was. If it was a harder jump, Techno Way would have made it, and everybody else would have missed it. But overshooting it didn't help him in this one. Binks in the lead again, and Sylvie and Doodrift, who we've seen at the bottom quite a few times, and Azion down at the back again. Maybe that's not F4 coming, surely a top player down at the back. But seems to be continuing at the moment. Maybe we'll see a recovery in checkpoint 3 here.
Hopefully. Still a long way back and dropping further back as we go through every single one of these checkpoints. I'm not entirely convinced. Well, you say that. There it goes up into 29th. This could be the recovery drive. And honestly, getting those recovery drives in kind of the middle, as there's another place taken. He's up into 27th at least. Having these recovery drives at this point, kind of 30, 40 players left, is not the worst thing in the world, you know? Kind of getting comfortable, getting your shaky rounds out of the way, building to a strong finish. In terms of mental game, in terms of how you do at that point, it's not the end of the world for Azion at the moment.
That's true. You don't end up like a seed and be dominating and then drop out immediately. Can Corzo slip in here? Does. So somebody else missed the jump again. I think one player missed the jump. 28 was Corzo. Jumped into 27.
Azion DNF'd.
Oh, no. Azion and Virus both DNF'd. It must have been Rick's Lux that missed the jump, I think, to end up dropping out in the end.
I think Azion missed the jump and immediately DNF'd. That's my take on what happened at the end of that round, because he had climbed back up into the safe positions. He was looking okay, and then all of a sudden DNF. That's happened off camera, but it does mean another player from near the top of the leaderboard drops out. Azion gone, a seed gone, gold gone, Heave gone, Plixie gone. We're losing an awful lot of people up there, and that just means that it continues to open up at the top. But I'm still expecting a very strong finish to this map, as there's quite a lot of those players who are near the top who we haven't seen near the bottom at all. Anix, Jaja, Yanix. We haven't really seen them with a shaky round just yet. As I say that, here is Jaja having a little bit of a shaky round. And so we'll see how this one does play out for them. Already, though, they're managing to climb their way back up as some players catch on the outside there, lose a lot of speed towards this middle checkpoint. And Jaja should be safe for the time being.
Wasn't the best run through from Pumpkin Q, but we saw him recover earlier down this bottom bit by bouncing off the wall. So can that be the recovery to make it back out of the bottom four? There's the bounce. Is it going to be quite enough? They need someone to miss it. There's a lot of people gone the slow way as well, so they could jump it here, and he does. Straight through into 23rd. Scalix isn't going to make it, and a couple of them taking the slow route. It's end up costing them. I think they've got to go for this jump on this map now, because they just lose too much time.
Yeah, we're starting to get to the point where, you know, that second or whatever it is that you actually lose going for the safe route is starting to cost you rounds, unless you're far enough in front that you feel comfortable going for it. There was a sketchy moment there for Yanix. He went through that last checkpoint moving a little bit slowly, not far in front of the players who got eliminated, but a clean jump through the end saw him right. And hopefully that continues to be the case as we get towards the business end. 20 players will be left, 19 players left after this round. This is our second last round of 4 knockouts. These next 2 rounds, these tend to be fairly brutal ones, Astral, as you know, we're wiping out significant percentages of the field each round at this point.
Look at the lap times. Oh, Jaja has got 47, just snuck in as the second player with a really good recovery from him after we saw a huge drop back. But maybe that one was the round before and we missed it. But regardless, a big jump up for him in speed and performance. So we see some new faces in the bottom 4 that we haven't really recognized before. Skydrew, Manga, Ender, and one of our star players all the way at the back, and Izzy Binks as well. So this is a huge switch up to what we've seen previously, Noah, and a lot of good players right now hanging in the balance.
Yeah, Anix is going to have to snipe someone at the end. I think it feels like at that point there is a little bit of speed on that one. Anix is launching towards that finish line. I think has possibly made it across, as we'll see as the results do come through. There's Pun dropping out. Binks looking to have dropped out as well. Fuber and Mimo Jr. A couple of big names still dropping out. Binks and Mimo definitely players that we would recognize here. But it looked sketchy there. Anix having to clutch towards the end. And I think we got our first proper glimpse of exactly what that little bit of a shortcut near the bobsleigh section looks like.
Yeah, I think Anix making it count at the final minutes, and Pun probably could have made it, but took the slow route, and I think that's what got him knocked out in the end. But that's gonna I think wake Anix up a bit, because he's been the front 2, front 3 for 90% of these rounds, and now all of a sudden find himself nearly out. Corzo, particularly one of the guys that's been at the back consistently, now just sneaking up into 14th, are on board with, and then Phoenix a little bit further back. Who's going to hit the checkpoint? I think everybody made it for once, but is anyone going to fail the half pipe? Doesn't look like it. The better players not making those same mistakes, and it's really coming down to the smallest margins now.
Although going slow at the moment, Beta Toast just in front of them. This is this round that tends to be the most brutal round. The last round of 4 eliminations, this is the point where we lose a full 1/5 of the field. And just slipping a little bit down towards the back is going to feel very bad at this point. E-Monsters is a player right on the danger zone at the moment. Good finish at the end, though. He's a lot of speed. If he can snipe this finish, it looks like he has the angle. There goes Fenix. So flying with a huge amount of speed, absolutely launching themselves into that finish. It was quick. It wasn't quick enough. It's enough for a 16th place. Jan van Speek will drop out in 17th. E-Monsters not able to quite make the finish happen. And Skydrew dropping out in 19th. That means a lot of the players that we are looking at the top of the leaderboard managed to survive the bloodbath of the last round of 4 elimination, and we dropped 2 eliminations around now.
It's a really nice final checkpoint from Monster, but just wasn't quite enough. I think the earlier part of the track must have been a bit of a disaster for him. Ender at the back again immediately as Ain't at the front. Corzo maybe sneaking in there. Corzo needs to keep himself away from the back at this point, as does Dura Jojo, because he's been slipping down there a few times. Beta Toast, though, keeping on the end of it. Ender, as I mentioned, didn't want to slip out. has slipped out. Is anyone going to fail the checkpoint? Oh, we saw a few clips there. That's going to damage some speed. Maybe someone fails the half pipe. Doesn't look like it, though. They've all made it. A couple running wide. They're all on track. They're all still in it. Nobody's dropped out just yet. No one's DNFing. This is the point, no, I think, where you make a mistake. Oh, there it is. Straight off the track. Didn't see a DNF, but that's probably going to be seeing you out making a mistake like that.
Yeah, that's going to make things very difficult at the very least, and almost definitely not going to be able to recover from that one, Ismonge. As Jojo might get sniped to finish. There is a couple of players going for the safe finish as well. What does it end up looking like? Yannick has not yet crossed the line, has now crossed the line. Mika will drop out of the competition in 15th place. Monge not able to recover, but the finish does cost Mika, who is gone in 15th.
I think Yannick took the safe route in the end. I think that's why we saw him drop back massively. I didn't see him as one of the cars in the air trying to make the final jump, so took the risk, just paid off to creep in. I think just in the safe zone. I'm not sure whether it was 11th or 12th, somewhere around there, but Enders managed to survive once more and keep in with the top. And some of these names at the top aren't the normal ones that we recognise. Obviously Yannick's in there and Ink's doing really well, but there's definitely some new faces. I think BMX has won the previous week as well.
Yeah, a lot of players who we do see around, but Vinch, player from Loading that we haven't necessarily seen all the way up here before. Enix not a player that we've really seen around all that much. This could be a big week for him. Joining the competition, Aramis looking for it, but hey, there's still time for these players to drop outside the top 10 as well, and right now it is Aramis and Vinch who are looking to make the comeback happen. That's Aramis nearly going off the edge, but this is going to be tough. This is something we talked about all the way back in the warm-up. Compromising one of your jumps starts to feel a lot worse the further you go on. That's a very difficult angle to go into that one, but it's got an awful lot of speed out of it. A very different line than we've been seeing so far. Aramis may have worked for it, and there's Vinch crashing out. Aramis climbs up into 9th, down in the bottom. There is Vinch managing to get across the line. It's only a 12th place, and Jojo will be our 13th place player.
Yannick's just crept in again. Yannick's made a huge mistake coming down from the bowl. Ended up getting caught, I think, in the corner, and it looks like the other players were going to creep in front, but managed to make a recovery before the jump just to sneak in that final safe spot. But we've seen a few too many mistakes from Yannick. He can't be doing that again now, because you're not going to get the same chances that was been provided in those previous rounds. And now it comes down to these much better players, it seems, on this track. And Corso is a player in particular I'm surprised who we've still got in here in the top 11, because he was in the bottom quite consistently, but recovery drives have been magnificent as of Yannick. So some of these guys not tested as much. Who do you think's going out in this one?
Don't make me call it. I mean, hey, right now, how about the person at the top of the leaderboard? How about Enix dropping out here outside the top 10? Might not even get onto the Liquipedia page, because that is what is at stake in this round. Your position on the leaderboard, your position on the Liquipedia page, and people recognizing what you did this week. Uramus is holding on to 10. I'm not convinced enough players are going to fail the finish at this point to get Enix back into it. There's Mutronis going slow. Uramus may be able to snipe this. I think everyone's made it. Mutronis is going to be forced to respawn. Will come in 10th place, sneak onto the leaderboard. Enix will show off the skip one last time to us, but will drop out in 11th nonetheless.
Wow, that must have been a huge mistake at the start. I don't think we caught what happened with Enix, but we saw him reset, I think, after the second or third checkpoint, maybe. He lost a huge amount of time. First on the score sheet, a 47.4, and can't even make it onto the Liquipedia page. That is a brutal way to go out. But we've noticed a difference in terms of players. Jar Jar in second, Yannick's in third as well. So the names have been shuffling a little bit. We've not necessarily been seeing the same players stuck there. Wallagen, of course, was in 7th, but not been driving, dropped all the way down to 10th. So these new guys have been getting quicker. And you see Marius there just on the edge of the top 10. We've not seen much of him so far. Must have been completely in safety, but now he's finally going to be under pressure.
I'm glad that you said that, because I don't think you know this, but Marius does have the nickname the Safe Meister. Safety has been his watchword throughout his career. The oldest, or the most long-standing, I should say, active player at the moment. And yeah, when he sets his mind to it, he can drive the safe lines all day long. It gets him consistently good finishes, and has gotten him as far as the only player who's won multiple times. Yannick's still going for that cut. I was going to say how many players are doing it. The answer is a couple. BMX looking to snipe. What a finish that is. Oh. BMX is so fast, and Uramus and Beta Toast are the losers, unfortunately, in that mid-air dogfight.
I did see somebody getting stuck attempting the shortcut. I'm not exactly sure who it was. But yeah, Beta Toast slips out in 9th, Aramis 8th. It was a good showing from Aramis. I think earlier on we saw some really good rounds from him, and makes the Liquipedia page. So it's at least a little bit of satisfaction, isn't it? Even if you go dropping out before you make it to the final few. And now it gets tense. Ender seems to to be surviving somehow. We're on board with Ender here now. Looks to be right at the back in 7th, but you get a whole view of everybody in front of you. Who's going to make the mistake? Where can you pounce? Because Ender's made a recovery a lot of times. He sneaks through, gets one position here, might get a couple. See how the recovery goes through checkpoint. Looks like Marius was slowing down a lot there. You talk about safety, but you can't afford to be braking like that all the way down to 7th.
Yeah, is going to be losing a lot of speed. This is again one of those difficult rounds. Our last round with 2 eliminations, we are losing over a quarter of the field. I mean, it's only 2 players, but it's still a lot. BMX probably going to be one of them at this point. Can't be affording mistakes at this point of the competition, and it's up to Exotics to go for it. Someone is still going for that short look. It looked like Jaja potentially going for that. Who has done it? Ender's very slow, but Exotics is forced to slow. Will still go for the risky finish. I'm not sure that's the right idea. It turns out it was. He manages to make it, but he just doesn't have the speed to catch anyone. A 6th place finish. BMX showing off some sick 360 skills, but hey, it's just a little bit of flair on the way out the door as he will yeet himself into the sky, and having yote himself, he will then miss the finish to spend a little bit more time on this track in week 21.
11th on the timings in the end for the fastest lap, but out in 7th. That's not a bad finish to take 4 places above your fastest lap, although we did have some heavy hitters fall out earlier on, didn't we? And Ender's survived again. Unbelievably, Ender is now into the top 5 with Marius and Yannick's. Jaja isn't a player we've seen a huge amount of, and Corso seems to have got better and better as it's gone on, and is now just always in safety, compared to at the beginning was never in safety. So we've got a huge recovery drive, and then some players we expect to be up there, and I think that is really kind of a nice mix of, can we get a surprise winner, or are we going to get a typical winner that we always see?
Yeah, I mean, Corso has had strong finishes, but I'm not sure, has he won an edition? You're the player with the list, or you're the person with the list.
He has won one, you are correct.
He has won one. So, I mean, look, a lot of strong players left. I said I was looking forward to a very strong finish here on this competition because, you know, this is a track that players could definitely find places to improve on, and it's going to be a tight battle, I think, in the last few rounds. And you can see it, there's room to risk. Corso dropped behind the field here, but he's managed to catch back up to them just by taking risks that maybe Marius wasn't willing to take. Ender maybe just making the mistake as well. He's far enough behind that the rest of the players at this point should know that they can take it safe. Corso, though, he's bouncing around. He's moving slowly. Do we see Ender come roaring back into this one? Jaja still going for that shortcut. He's not going to stop anytime soon. Ender is a little bit too far back, I think, to make this happen. Barn Corso failing to finish, which he won't. And that does mean Ender, the player to drop out in 5th place.
Yeah, I saw Ender eyeing up the shortcut. I think did go for it in the end. I mean, you have to, don't you, when you're that far behind, but didn't make up enough time. And so we've got 3 players that have previously won in the top 4. And of course, Jaja, the only player that hasn't won. So we could have a brand new winner, or we could have a repeat. We could have Marius hit number 5, Yannick's hit number 3, or Corso get his 2nd as well to join that of multiple winners. So that's going to be interesting. It would be nice to have a new winner, I'm not going to lie, but Marius will really want that 5th title because that is quite something special.
And of course, Yannick's and Jaja in a call at the moment, so I'm sure a little bit of friendly rivalry probably going on between those 2 players as well. Nice to see both of them making the top 4. How much further can both of them make it? Because at some point, one of them's getting eliminated, and it is within the next couple of rounds. Jaja, the player at the back, and a little bit of a wiggle there will slow him down going into this jump. He still makes it, and risking it more than Corso. That's what we were talking about. There was room, but Corso has so much more speed than the rest of the players then going through the rest of the jump. Onto the dirt, into this turn, which players have had different lines through all day. Corso bounces around on it for the 2nd time in as many rounds. He's looking okay. Jaja still the only player going for that shortcut, I believe, unless Yannick went for it up front as well. Marius on the inside. There's more speed than Corso. It's all about the angle of the jump. Marius takes it so nice. Low, and that is beautiful from Marius.
I thought Marius was done for. Jaja with a great recovery as well after an earlier drop back, but it looks like Yannick's is the player to beat at this point. You know, struggling a little bit earlier on, but the last few rounds been at the top, and of course the local record of the players still standing is in Yannick's favour. It just seems to be not making any mistakes as we get started here. Let's look to the player at the back, but it's so tight margins. Yannick's will quickly sneak through back into the lead again, and I would suspect that Yannick's will make the final 2, barring some huge mistake. Marius has been sort of struggling, hasn't he, in these last few rounds, been creeping towards the back. Jaja did make a big mistake, but recover as Yannick sneaks through again in the lead, going through checkpoint 3. The half pipe break corner is important, and Marius has ran a little bit wide, and that seems to be where he's struggling last time out as well, and now got a lot of time to recover in the final few checkpoints.
Yeah, I mean, he has lived up to his title. Safe Meister indeed. But at the point when your opponents are no longer making any mistakes, when all three of them are going for that shortcut, and Marius maybe the player least experienced with it, Yannick and Jaja will make it through. Well clear of Marius by the time he got there. He was forced into trying the shortcut as well. Got it pretty cleanly, not as cleanly as his opponents. It'll be the two players in a call together, the two mates, Yannick and Jaja, in this final.
That's crazy. I feel like with Marius, maybe you've got to try that shortcut a little bit earlier on, so it's not in such a risky position when you've still got time to earn it, because it comes to that late chance, and you see he got stuck there. It wasn't a clean transition through like it was for Jayan and Yannick's, probably because they've been running it for round after round. Yannick's got the fastest lap, like I said, of the players still standing, but been without mistakes so far, but running in the lead could quickly be thrown away when the pressure hits on the very final lap. Once that third victory, can he get it now?
He looks like he might be able to be honest. He's already pulling away from Jaja, and this is now full risk territory for Jaja. He just needs to throw his car at these corners, trust in skill, and hope for the best, because Yannick right now is already built up just on pace alone a half-second lead. Yannick's wide on that. Jaja with a good landing as well, but Yannick continues to build this lead. Both of them will be going for the shortcut. It's a good transition from Yannick. It's the same style from Jaja, but he has missed a little bit. Yannick will become the second person in Mini RPG the Week history to win more than twice. He moves to 3. Jaja takes a second place, but it is a well-deserved, a well-controlled win from Yannick across 26 rounds.
Very, very nice. Towards the end, Yannick was just unbeatable. No mistakes coming out from Yannick. He made the mistakes earlier on. That's when it matters the most. Getting down to those final rounds is perfection every single round. Making the shortcut look easy as well. And as Marius showed, it was not that easy. You could easily get caught there with your car in an awkward position, get stuck and lose all your momentum. But a fantastic run from Yannick to the end. A well-deserved win, and it wasn't a French or German winner.
Yeah, it's true. Getting the Swissman in there instead. I mean, he's flying the flag for himself at the moment. 3 Swiss wins, and well, yeah, it's because they're all Yannick's. But hey, I mean, if you got to do it yourself, you got to do it yourself. And congratulations again to Yannick. A well-deserved third win. As I said, he felt controlled throughout the competition today.
Yeah, it's something like towards the end, like I say, it was just getting better and better. And we did see a lot of people making those mistakes, but towards the end, we talked about, there was only small amounts of time that you could be lost, but there wasn't too many chances to make mistakes once you got familiar with it. There wasn't loads of difficult jumps that they had to make, and so I think once you got it nailed down like Yannick did with the consistency, it didn't really seem like there was going to be a big part of the track where the mistake was going to happen, and just kept running with that consistency and smashed it in the end. So gotta give him props to that. Well done. A fantastic final few rounds.
Yeah, very exciting week of Mini RPG of the Week here for week 21, and that will round things out for us. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Astral, for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed your first week with us here. Hopefully we get to see you back again in future.
Yeah.
I have no doubt that we will. We can pair you up with someone other than me even, maybe. I mean, well, listen, we've got plenty of talent floating around at this point. We love to see it. Players and casters alike. As I say, that's going to be it for us. Thank you for joining us. Join the Discord if you haven't already. !Discord will get you there. We have plenty of Trackmania happening. Mini RPG of the Week will be back next Wednesday. You won't want to miss that, and we'll see you back there for it.
Since she went away, she's gone through changes, but I've stayed the same. And she knows that my heart was in the right place. It's a shame that the right place is too far away. Too far away. Missed calls in a new city with a couple new walls and some new friends. They don't know who you are, but I like them better anyway. Cause they don't stress when I'm having some fun, and they don't guess if I'm feeling undone. Though I can't sleep now, I wonder if I like it better, like it better. We've been so unattentive. attached that I think I need to connect.